Hi, everybody. Sorry we're late. We had some issues with Zoom and the account host and everything. So sorry we're a few minutes late. Thanks for joining. Let me just see if I'm missing anybody else that's trying to get in. Okay. I think we have everybody we're gonna have. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Huffman. I am the Workforce Development Training Fund Program Specialist. I am running this one today for Sharon Geisler, who's the one that usually does it. She's the program lead. And then I also have two of my co-workers on here, Johnny and Savannah. And really this is just to give you kind of an overview of all of the grants under Workforce Development Training Fund, as well as open it up for any questions that you may have regarding any of the grants at all. And just kind of having conversations around the grants and everybody kind of getting feedback from each other. So I will start. I got to get everything kind of up and running again because I shut my computer down. So let me get everything back. And then I will share my screen. Also, sorry, we are recording this meeting just to help people who weren't able to join for whatever reason be able to go and listen to the recordings. All right, so I should be sharing my screen now, and it's the Business Training and Support Unit landing page. Can everybody see that? Okay. Yeah. All right, let me get my view right. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, so we have, well, first, let's start here. So here is where you can register, as I'm sure most of you already know, for each of these Q&A sessions. There's all of them upcoming that are on here, and you can just click on the link and register through Zoom. And then any previously recorded meetings, if you would like to watch any of those, you can go here. And then here is kind of just a rundown of, this video is a rundown of the Workforce Development Training Fund and its grants that you can watch just for informational purposes. And then you can click on each one of these to go into the independent grants. And then here we have the preferred industries listed, which we'll get into the significance of those in a little bit. And then here's the main line, which is Johnny Jones, for any questions related to the Workforce Development Training Fund. And then here is our designated email for Wdtf that I will hopefully be putting in the chat. Here's my chat. Well, oh, there it is. Sorry. Okay, so there's the email for everybody to use for any questions or inquiries about any of the grants, Workforce Development Training Fund. And then we also have a designated email for internship. And I will put that in the chat as well. And then I will also put the link to this website in the chat for everybody to have. And then we'll go ahead and, oh, another thing, sorry, is there's been some new rules, emergency rules that went into effect a few months ago. So some things changed in mostly the business training grant and the internship rules. And so this kind of gives a highlight of what changed in each of the grants, just in a one pager, so that you can find the link here at the very top of this landing page. Okay, so we'll get started with going through the links over here on the left side. So the apprenticeship grant is managed and ran by Ivy Moore and Robert Fife. They process all the apprenticeship grants, and they are the main contact for the apprenticeship grants. And really, the apprenticeship program is for Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs to apply for the related instruction piece of that apprenticeship program. And again, they have the applicant has to be registered with DOL Office of Registered Apprenticeships. And here you can find all the different forms and documents that you can use for the apprenticeship. There's the application, there's the rules that you can find here, and then different final report templates and documents to use. And then it looks like she has the National Apprenticeship Week of 2022 and everything that was covered in that week. And you can find Ivy's email here, as well as her number here if you have any questions about apprenticeship. Business training grant is probably the largest grant utilized under Workforce Development Training Fund. It's also the only one currently that we have an online grant system for. And it is to help businesses send their employees to training that upgrades their skill level, corrects the skill deficiency, and is directly related to their occupation. All of our grants are reimbursement based. So this one is reimbursed 45 days after the end of training. And so the first step of the process is to register with the online grant system. That process, usually from the time that you submit the account registration to the time that it's approved, it usually takes about a week and a half to 2 weeks. So just trying to take that into account when you have an upcoming training. You just have to register first and get approved on the online system before you can submit or create any of those applications for training. And you do have to, for all of our grants, you do have to be in good standing with unemployment insurance, workers' comp, and Secretary of State. For business training grant, you also do have to be in good standing with Wyoming at Work, which is the department's system for job postings. It has lots of different resources for businesses and employees on there too. So businesses can post jobs, and then employees can look for jobs there. And then there's also different documents and different resources and numbers and stuff on there that you can access that is very helpful to businesses. The funding limits for the business training grant is $5,000 per trainee per fiscal year if you are considered a preferred industry, which again, that's listed at the main landing page for Workforce Development Training Fund. There's 6 preferred industries. If you fall under those, then you would get $5,000 per trainee per fiscal year. If you do not fall under that, then you would get $4,000 per trainee. And then all businesses get up to $200,000 per fiscal year per business. And so the process works is you create the account. Once it's approved, you start the application process. Once you submit that, then we review it. The application has to be submitted at least 30 days prior to the first day of travel or training, and can be submitted up to 110 days prior to that first day of training. So once we review it and approve it, hopefully then the trainee goes to training. Once the training period is over, 45 days after that, there is a 45-day employment retention rule. So then at that point, the business submits the final report. And then once everything is good and approved with the final report, receipts and documentation, then that is when the business would get reimbursed for the expenses, 100% of the approved expenses based on the receipts. I'll just kind of go through here. This is a one-pager of everything that you need to have in order to begin the application process. And then it kind of walks you through what I just explained as far as, you know, the process that takes place leading up to the actual training. And then this is a document on how to create the business account. So this is kind of a step-by-step document, just walking you through how to do that. And then here are the rules, which I would highly suggest to read before you create an account, just to make sure that everything falls in line with what your needs are, and that each of your needs will meet the rules. And then here are some just samples that we've created for people who are sole proprietors or own their own business. This is where you can get the samples that we've created for those individuals or for those businesses who don't have a pay stub, or who, you know, whatever their circumstances, this is a good resource for them. And then here's the final report checklist. And that's good to look at the beginning stage too, just to kind of know what you're going to need to expect to obtain while at the training. And then the application checklist, the application instructions, and then here are some just more samples for proof of attendance after the training at the final report stage. And then this is I don't know that this is just another sample for at the application stage. So this kind of goes into very step-by-step for the online application, similar to this one pager, except it goes into more detail. So this, you can go and register with workers' compensation and unemployment insurance, Wyoming Work and Secretary of State, if you haven't done that already. And then this gives the same links as we had up here. Some of these links we do need to update. So if one of these ones down here aren't working, then you can just go to the corresponding one that's up here and click on that one. And so one of the pieces is to ensure, one of the steps is to ensure that your business is registered as a vendor with the Wyoming State Auditor's Office. And that has to take place before we can pay you, since the state accounting system, that's where we make the payments to. And so you would need to fill out a W-9 to get registered with the state auditor's office in order to be reimbursed. And then again, these are the links to the instructions, and then this is the link to the actual landing page to create your account or create applications. And then this kind of just gives you a rundown of everything we've already talked about in the 30 to 110 days, and the steps of the process that take place throughout the application process. And that's it for business training grant. And then there are also some links here just for frequently asked questions, and then just helpful hints that you might want to look at before creating that account or creating the application. And you can always email us to that DWS-WDTF email for business training grant questions, or you could always call us. And then moving on to internship grants. Internship grants are meant for short-time internship opportunities, helping with the wages for those internship opportunities. And the main purpose of this internship program is to provide an internship opportunity that enhances the intern's work skills, gives them a very structured learning experience, quality work experience, that's kind of short term and gives them that feel for that position, for that industry, whatever the case is. And then they can stay employed with the business that's applying, or, if they got the work skills that they want and they want to go elsewhere, that's fine too. Also, if they just discover that this isn't for them, we see that as well. It's really just intended for the intern to get that work experience and us help with the wages for that short-term work experience. So as I said, all of our grants are reimbursement based. So this is the same concept where we get the application in, which we usually like to have about 30 to 45 days to review the application. And once the application is approved and executed, that's when the wages will be eligible for reimbursement, depending on, the time frame and stuff that you want the intern to work. The timing of it just really depends on each application. But once that's approved, then the internship opportunity can start and the wages are eligible after that contract is executed. And then the business starts sending invoices and pay stubs for us to start those reimbursement on a monthly basis. And then we require a initial assessment along with an attestation form from the intern, just attesting that they don't qualify for a couple of other programs, vocational rehabilitation and WIOA under Department of Workforce Services. And then we also require a midterm assessment as well as a final exit interview with the final report documentation at the end of the internship opportunity. For both business training grant and internship, we do allow for amendments to extend the dates. It just has to be requested prior to the end of the training or internship period. And then here again is the internship designated email specific to any internship questions or inquiries. And then here's some links for what we have two different options for the application. One is a Google form, so you can find that here. This is new. So this is, I think within the past month at least, we've launched this. And so this is an option that you can, it seems to be a little bit more user-friendly. And for anybody who's used the PDF version, it just seems to be more efficient for everybody involved. And then there also is still the option for the PDF version. It's a fillable PDF application, and it has the instructions, and then it also has the fillable piece of it, and then a cost projections worksheet as fillable as well. And then there's also the grant reimbursement form, which is what you'll use to submit along with the pay stubs for once you are able to invoice us on that monthly basis after the application has been approved and you have started the actual internship opportunity. And then here are the rules as well for internship. For the wages, we require that. So I guess, sorry, first we should go over the funding limits for internship. So we are allowed to reimburse up to $25 an hour and up to 1,040 hours per internship. So with that, if you have an intern that you kind of have an idea of what you want to pay them, then we will need supporting documentation to support that wage. And so these are the two links that we suggest to find that average wage for Wyoming. So I'm just going to walk through what that looks like on what's called ONET. So if we just do say project manager. So I just type that in up here, and then it gives you a list of similar occupations to what you searched. And then you can click on that first link, and you're going to scroll quite a ways down. And then you select Wyoming and hit go. And then this gives you the annual average or the annual chart. So it starts down here and then the high end is up here. We want to see the hourly since that's what we're basing the reimbursement off of. And that's, we want them to be short-time hourly paid employees, not salary based. So here we can see the lower end is 23 and the average is 35. And this is what the screenshot that we want attached to the application. And if you have problems throughout this this entire process, and like I said, you can always give us a call and we can help you through whichever part of the process you're in. We can help you through that. And then Wyoming at Work is, like I said, it's a platform that we use in our department to help employers and employees in whatever needs they have. And here you can just search different occupations and it'll bring up jobs, and you can narrow it down to your city, your county, whatever, and it'll give us the general wage range for that occupation. Okay, and then let's go ahead and jump into pre-hire. So pre-hire grants are meant to train potential employees prior to being hired that the business and the partners have identified as a need for that industry. So it would be an application among the training provider, the businesses that have a need for that occupation. And the training entity, the business, the local economic development entity, and then the local workforce center. So that's who would be involved in a pre-hire grant. And it's basically just to make sure that it's for a specific skill set and that there is an industry need. And it's promoting Wyoming's economic growth. That's the main purpose of the pre-hire grant. And again, here's the different forms, the rules, the application for the pre-hire right here in this link. And then pre-obligation is can be used to obligate funds to utilize the business training grant and or the pre-hire grant simultaneously. And it's just basically a lump sum of money that we pre-obligate for a business who has been working with the Wyoming Economic Development Entity who's identified that there's a need. And, you know, from somebody maybe developing a new workforce within the industry. That is what pre-obligation funds are meant for. And like I said, they could be used for the business training grant or the pre-hire. And it's just basically pre-obligating funds for that. And you can read more about that in the rules and the application and instructions. So that was a rundown of all the grants. And now I would like to open it up to any questions any of you guys might have about any of the grants. And you can put it in the chat, or you can just take yourself off mute and go ahead and ask.
Hi, this is Amy White. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. It doesn't appear that there's any date ranges for these grants. They're available year round, is that right? As people want to apply for them?
Yep, that's correct. As long as it's, you know, within the 30 days before the training starts.
Okay.
Yes, and then just to clarify, the fiscal year that we are referring to with the funding limits, it goes from July 1st to June 30th.
Okay.
But yes, they are open year round. That's just our fiscal year that dictates the funding limits.
So if we would send in a training grant at this point, and takes 30 or 45 days for you all to approve it, and if we don't use all the funds within your fiscal year for one person, do we have to reapply once the fiscal year starts over?
So you get a new set of those limits for the new fiscal year. So it doesn't carry over into the new fiscal year. Any unused funds in any given fiscal year doesn't carry over. Does that answer your question?
Yes, let me just make sure I'm clear. So if we're in a preferred industry and an individual can receive up to $5,000, and say we only use 1,000 this year in your fiscal year this year, then would we start over with the 5,000 in the new fiscal year, or to be 4,000 in the new fiscal year?
5,000.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you can submit different applications that add up to that 5,000. It doesn't have to be one application that's $5,000. It can be different training events throughout the year for that trainee.
I have one more question, and then I'll let people ask something else.
Okay.
When you're verifying that you're in good standing with those agencies, if you're registered with them, is there a specific form that needs to be printed out and included in the application, or how do we show that we are?
So for business training grant specifically, you would need, if you don't have an account at this time, then you would create that account, give us the employment identification number, the FEIN, and that is what drives our check for workers' compensation and unemployment insurance. And then, so that is interfaced in the system to unemployment insurance and workers' compensation, and they give us that good standing, bad standing status from that interface. And so once you register with the joint registration for unemployment insurance and workers' comp, then that interfaces with our system, and that is what tells us your status at the business account creation stage of the process.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have any other questions? No. Did I cover everything? That's new. Okay, well, I guess if that's all everybody has, then I guess we'll go ahead and give you guys the gift of time. And if anything comes up as you start the process or start reading through the rules or the application, then feel free to either join this again or give us a call.
Thank you.
Thank you.